Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the show. One of the things that's been really on my mind lately is how much money I'm going to need to retire. And everybody has that number, right? What is that number? Some people say it's $1 million. Some say you need $2 million. But how do you really know? First, you need to know how much you spend. Are you tracking your spending? Do you know how much you spend each month to live? Then we have to look at what sources of income will I have. Now, in my case, I'm going to have a state pension. Now, it's not going to be enough for me to live on, but it is going to be part of the money that I will live on, and I can take that into account. What kind of special expenses are you going to have? Healthcare is expensive. Now, when you work, a lot of times you get a break from your employer on healthcare. When you quit working, it becomes all of your expense. Now, if you're 65, Medicare is certainly going to be there to do a lot of it, but you still will need some supplemental insurance as well for the parts that Medicare don't cover. In my case, I can retire early. I'm going to have 10 years between my eligible retirement date from the fire service and when I can actually take Medicare. So it's going to be a big part of my expenses. Where will you live? Are you going to downsize your house? Is your house going to be paid off? How much of your expenses are going to be your house? Now, in my case, hopefully ours will be paid off before I'm eligible to retire. We planned that ahead because I knew I could retire younger than most people. We took precautions and have been prepaying on our mortgage. Now, some people disagree with this, and that's fine. But in our case, it works out. Remember, everybody's case is an individual thing. Where are you going to live? We want to move to someplace that's sunnier, someplace that's warmer, someplace that has lower taxes. In Oregon, we have 9% income tax. I would very much like to not have to pay that in retirement. And the other thing you need to know is how much are you going to have to draw from your retirement portfolio? Now, this is the one we can think about. This is where we get our number. After we've figured out what our expenses are, now remember, there's a few expenses that will go down in your retirement. Remember things like if you're contributing to a 401k or a workplace plan. Let's say you max that out every year. $19,000 for your plan, $19,000 or even $25,000 now with the catch-up to your wife's plan. That could be $50,000 that you're putting away now that you won't have to count for when you're retired. Other things, commuting. If you have to commute every day and your fuel bill could be extremely high right now because you're commuting to work 5 days a week. That's something that's going to probably go down when you're in retirement. Now, how much is hard to say, right? Because you're still going to want to enjoy retirement. But these are the kinds of things you need to look at. Other things, if you have to dress up for your job, if you have to wear suits or dresses or expensive clothing because that's what you do as part of your job, those costs will go away as well. Now, those are not ongoing costs, but these are the kinds of things that a lot of people don't think about. And we always hear the mantra that we'll be in a lower tax bracket when we retire, right? Well, right now we're in the lowest tax environment in my adult life. So when the Tax Cuts and Job Act expires, I'll go from 22% for my income tax federally right now back up to 28%. So might be time to think about putting away some Roth money in that. Okay, so let's get back to the first question. What's that number? Now, we all have heard about the 4% rule, right? The 4% rule has been around since the 90s, and basically what it says is you figure out what you need to live on for a year, you multiply that by 25, and that will give you 4% drawn off your portfolio, adjusted for inflation each year, and you should not run out of money. Now, That's a simple number to say, right? If you know what you're looking for, if I know I need, let's say it's 40,000. I know that $40,000 times 25 is $1 million. That's the easy example, right? So if I knew that I could live off $40,000 adjusted for inflation, so 40,000 the first year, it might be 40,500 the next year, whatever the inflation rate is, right? So it's going to go up a little bit, we know that. It should theoretically last me for at least 25 or more years, so it should last me for my retirement. Now in my case, I have an extra 10 years, but I also have other income, right? I have a pension. For most people, the only other income they're going to have is Social Security. Now, whether you think Social Security will stick around or not forever is another discussion. I personally think it's going to be there. I don't think any politician would be the one that would want to have his name on taking away Social Security. But it could be less, it could be changed, it could have a lot of things. But for most people, the most you can expect to get from Social Security is only about $3,000 a month. So that's $36,000. If you need $50,000 to live on, you're going to have to find $14,000 other dollars from somewhere. Not everybody has as much money put away as they want, and that's a problem. In our country, that is a problem. People have not saved for retirement as much as they need. But I realistically believe that if you have a plan going into it and you plan where you're going to live, if you're going to move to a smaller house, if you're going to downsize, all these things will adjust how much you'll need and how much you'll have to spend for your retirement. So the number is an individual thing. You say $1 million, and $1 million may be more than enough for somebody, but it may be not enough for somebody else. And I know for a lot of people, hearing that $1 million seems like an enormous undertaking to save that kind of money. And it takes time, you guys. That's why I always harp on starting early and saving long term. All right, so what's your number? Have you figured it out? Have you decided where you're going to live? Have you decided what your retirement's going to look like? Have you even run the numbers on what you spend annually so that you know how much you'll need when you do retire? If you guys have any questions or if you have any ideas, put them in the comments. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Most of what I talk about is investing here, but I'm going to start a new retirement series, and I hope to have a few different videos on this. This is the first one, just getting you to think about what is your number.